Hello there, and hope you're doing super great. So I'm all set up in my ride. I'm ready to go, and I'll be creating a tutorial where I show you how to ink a character using Affinity Designer. So let's jump in and see how we can create this character right at the top. Peace. Hello guys, and you're welcome to this quick tutorial. Okay, it's not going to be really quick, but this is a line art tutorial, and we'll add our flats and finally shade this character. So grab your drinks and let's begin. So I'll be using Affinity Designer because it's much more affordable for me and I don't need to pay a monthly subscription. So that's the reason why I'm using Affinity Designer. It's actually an awesome tool. So what do I have here? So I have a scanned drawing, a sketch, and I've actually brought that into Affinity Designer. I'll just show you how to quickly bring those sketches. Okay, I think we'll do this tutorial in another time, so I'll just close this document and I'll just show you how I quickly set this up. So once you've scanned your documents and you have it somewhere, so if you open Affinity Designer, go to File, New, and create a new project. I'll just go to Print and select an international paper like A4, and I'll just hit Create. So you'll see you have a blank project right now. So let's see how to import an image. So the first thing I'll do is go to File and then go to Place. Now this is different than, and then let's look for any sketch. I have this one I'll just open this one. It doesn't really matter which sketch it is. So, and basically this is this sketch. You can do things like zoom in on the sketch, and remember, because you're going to be creating vector art, that's just going to, basically do that. So basically that's how you can bring in your sketch, plain and simple. And now all you need to do is to create, let's say, a new vector layer on top, and you can start using your tools to actually, begin creating the shapes we will use to create the line art for this character. Basically that's how you can import line art. So I'll just go back to this project. I'll cancel this one because I'm recording and I don't want memory and to be consumed. And basically what I've done is to create a background layer. So just a shape with a color, and basically this is it. I just created a new shape, clicked on the rectangle tool, created a new rectangle, and you can select any color you want, and you can make it either big or small. It depends on what kind of color you're looking for. So if I want this to be the background, if I turn this off and turn back on our sketch, you can actually see the background color sipping through. Now I've gone ahead and edited my sketch because there were a little bit of errors I just realized I needed to correct, and I'll just show you how I do that. So I switched to the pixel persona and hit the eraser tool, pick the eraser tool, make this the width a bit smaller. Let's set it to like 28, and I'll zoom in a little bit. So I'll just drag this, and I just want to fix this eye. So again, I'll just make this slightly smaller, and you can actually see I can start doing things like making some minor corrections like so, like that. Basically nothing too complex. I'll just get rid of this, and like that. So I can also switch to a brush tool, select a specific color because I used blue, and I could just start dropping in that to actually make our lines much more smoother or fix any issues I want to fix. And like I said, you can clean up, you can add more, lines and everything like that. So that's one way. And when you're done, you can switch over to the designer persona and you're good to go. So the first thing I'll do is to create an outline of the face, because that's like the most common thing. And to do that, I'll just select the ellipse tool, and then with the ellipse tool selected, I'll get rid of the fill for now. So I'll just hit this check mark, this circle with the red slash, and then for the stroke, well, I like using full black for the stroke. And basically if I draw this, you actually see it's very thin, so I'll try to draw something relatively the size of this, and I'll set this to 2 points, just like that. So I'll just start placing this. Oops. So now I'll press V to move to the move tool, or the transform tool. Sorry, the move tool. Yeah, it's the move tool, but you can use it to transform points. So it's over here, move tool, shortcut V. It's very handy. You're going to be using that a lot. And I'll try to just place this so I can guess how this character's head is. So basically, so you can see we have some additional space here, and what I need to do now is to convert this to a curve where I can easily move the control points. So I just hit this convert to curves at the top. This is a curve, and I'll just press A or go over here to the node tool, and you can see we have these points. Each point you select will have a Bezier handle. There are other things we can do at the top here, but I'll just make sure I've selected these points, and I'll hold Alt to move this Bezier handle like so, and I'll move this one over here. And you can use this to start really mapping how you want your character to look like. So I'll just drag this, and I'll do a little bit of zooming in. And what I'm trying to do is just slightly match up the shape here, because if you look, we actually have this point over here, and then we can start moving this one. Oops, I'll just undo that, select this, and just start moving these points. And sometimes you may need to add more points, sometimes you may need to reduce them, but it doesn't really matter that much. So I'll just leave it around here. Now you can see we're having issues with this point right here. So let's see. And another thing is, and one cool thing, one nice little secret about the pen tool is that you don't need a lot of points. Now this is too sharp for me, so what I'll do is go over here at the top, hit convert to smooth, and it's actually going to smooth out that jaw for me like that. And I could just pull this like so, and then we can drag this to the left a bit, so you can actually get to see what it's doing here. So let's see, convert this to a smooth curve. And sometimes when you do that, it might actually look like it breaks your shape, but no problem. I just want to use that to get that slight angle. So I'll pull this back and then try to push this edge like so, so I can get that little angle. And then I'll go over this one and just relax with the pen tool and play around with it, and hopefully eventually you'll actually get your little shape. So here I'll go over to the curve and I'll turn it off, bring it back on. You can actually see we have our curve, and what I'll do is to just drag this slightly in and push this inside like so, like that. And I'll also just drag it down a bit so it's basically a little bit inside the character. So now if we turn it off and bring it back on, you can see we have that. Now this may be a little too thick, so let's try 1.5. I'll just do a 1.5, hit the return key. And what I would like to usually do is to have some line variation to the strokes. And to do that, let's go over here to pressure, and let's drag this down a bit, and towards the center here let's add a new point and then lift that up, and then towards the end let's just drag this down. So what this is going to do, let's try to increase the size. You can actually see we're having a nice little variation, but I don't like what it's doing here, so you have to make sure you're totally looking at your entire curve and seeing what's happening to your curve, because you don't want to have that. So just by dragging this down, I can see that's gone, and we can change the position so we don't have a very thin output like that. So I kind of like this. So this shape at 4.9 isn't a bad one, and what we can do is to save this profile. So I'll just hit save profile, and the next thing we can do is to set a brush. So I'll go over here, and I like using the pencil brushes, but let's test out the oil brushes. Now each time you use them, some of them are going to look terrible, some of them will look nice, but it just depends. So I'm not a fan of the oils, so I'll go to the pencils, and I like the pencils that are complete. So this one seems to be very nice. Pencil adds a little texture to the lines, which is great. So what I'll do now is to save this as a preset. So I'll drag the navigator to the left, and over here where we have styles, I'll just right click on that curve shape, right click over here and say create style. So this is going to be style 8 right here. So that's our style, style 8. We can rename this. We can call this, I don't even know what to call this, but I'll call it chocolate slim, and I'll hit the return key. So that's the name of our style, chocolate slim. What this means is we can easily drag any style we want. For instance, I have a style 6. I can drag style 6 and place it over here, and you can see we have another very smooth vector style. But if I drag my chocolate style here and drop it, you can see we're back to our texture. Now I accidentally closed the navigator. To bring it back, go to window, go to view, sorry, go to your studio, and then you can check out your navigator. You can actually hide any toolbar you don't need, and you can even save a custom view, but we are not going to get into that in this section. What we just want to do is to create our vector lines and get moving from there. So here I'm going to call this the head shape, and it's very important to name your layers because you'd actually it makes it easier to kind of like totally work with it. So the next thing I'll do is to just create, let's see what we can do next. I like moving around. Let's create the shape for the neck, and to do that I'll use the pen tool. So I'll click on, say, a point outside, click over here, and I try to just create a triangle shape and hit this. The reason why I'm using the triangle shape is because it's easier to manipulate using the node tool. So you can go over to an edge, you can actually see, I can just drag this over here, and we can just start dragging that till it lines up or matches with our little curve we created. Sometimes it takes a little getting used to, but after a while you actually see that it's not really it's not that bad. So here I want to convert this to a smooth curve, and I'll just drag this over here and hold the Alt key and just begin to drag this like so, and I'll just pull this point, and if I move this point it's going to, so what I'll do is to try and have a balance between those points. So I'll just go over here, try to create this like that, and I'll pull this one, and then I'll just slightly pull this one like that. So I'll just drag this here and drag this down like so. And for this one, I'll just pull, if I pull this here, right? So, and then we'll just pull this up. And I think this is a, we actually got that neck shape like so. We can always try to be really precise if we want. So I'll leave it like that. So this is going to be our neck, and it's going to be behind the head. So I'll just drag this down and place it here. And what I mean is, if I should fill this shape with, say, any color, you can actually see automatically we can't see the content behind the neck because we're putting it underneath. So that's why the neck layer is down right here. So to prevent any distractions, what I'll do is to just turn off the neck layer, and what I can do now is just create a simple curve for this shape. So I'll just use the pen tool and draw a straight line, then switch over to the node tool and just push it like so, And there you can see we have some nice little tapered line like so. And to use our chocolate, we can just drag it and place it, select any of our points. So we can just place chocolate and select this one as well. And we can use our textured chocolate line on it. And you can actually see this is how it looks like now. So awesome. So now let's keep moving. So I'll turn off the I'll make sure this is part of the neck. So I'll just drag it and clip it like so. So this is part of the neck. If I turn off the neck and this shirt line, they're now together. So we can just turn them off and keep working. A quick shape I can use is to create a shape for the ears. And to do that, I'll just use 2 ellipses. So I'll create a circle shape like so, create another circle shape, and I can just combine these 2 together. So I'll select the first one, select the second one, and up here you can see it says add. So if I add that, it's adding the shape, and I don't want it to do that, so I'll undo. I believe I can use, if I use intersect, this will be, I can basically just group them and then make one have a fill. And I think that's going to work. Or we can convert this to a donut like so, which is going to be super weird because we just need one shape to convert it to a donut. But I think with this, I could just press Ctrl G and group them together. I'll just call this earrings like that. Now again, you don't need to follow along with these styles and create these styles. You could just, you know, work with them directly and then use your own smooth shape if you want. It's not necessarily a must to use that. So let's create the ear. So for the ear, I'll create one, and let's try to see if we can use 2 points to create the ear. So I'll switch over to the node tool, and I'll basically just drag this up like so and pull this like that. And I believe we have the ear shape like so. I'll just try to make it match up, and let's zoom in to make sure we have that matching up. And we could just quickly click on our shape when we want, where we want that. And this ear is going to be in front of the face. So what we can do is, if we have that first curve, we can press Ctrl J to duplicate that and then bring this in gradually. And then we can move over here with the navigator and set this to a small, we deselected that, so let's click on it. Good. Let's get back to our node tool, select our points, and let's just drag that to make it line up. Now this might be a little bit thicker than the artwork, so we can always drag this and make it smaller so it represents the size of the design we created. Now let's go over here and let's see if we can drag this down like so, just to have that variation. And for this, we'll just create one little point, make sure it's quite small and thin, and we can use the node tool and kind of make it curvy like that. And we'll hit our shape, make that small. So, and that's our ear. So what we can do now is to quickly group all these shapes, all these paths, and press Ctrl G, and we can rename that. Let's call it ear. So only one ear is visible, so I'll just use the navigator to move around like so. So what do we work on next? Let's see all we have so far. So we have the neck, fabric ears, we have the eyes to go. So for the eyes, what I'll do is to create a shape, and then any object or parts of the eye will be masked within that shape. So let me just show you what I mean rather than explain it. So I'll use the pen tool and I'll go over to the eye and zoom in like so, and I'll create a nice little background for the whites of the eye. So I'll just do this, just a triangular shape, and then I can always fix that shape like so, and I'll just drag this like so, and this is going to be here, and this will be down here as well, just the whites of the eyes. And I'll do the same thing here. So I'll select the pen tool and just try to get a nice little shape for the whites of the eyes. Switch over to the node tool and just drag this, drag that one, and then drag this down a bit so it just lines up with this eye shape like that. So this is basically going to be the white section here, and then within that white I'm going to create this eye shape, and it's going to be inside. So to do that, let's click on our ellipse tool, and then let's select a black fill with no stroke. And you see the reason why that filled is because I was selecting that. So let's just deselect everything, make sure we're not selecting any shape, and let's go ahead and click on our tool and just draw a nice little oval like this, just a nice oval shape, and I'll fill that, and I'll get rid of the stroke because we don't need the stroke. So what I'll do is to go over to the curve. So we have one and we have the second one. I'll just bring them together, closer together. Now this is for this eye, so I'll just clip and mask this in here. So what this is doing is making sure that this doesn't go outside of this eye, and we can also we can just drag it like so. So what I'll do next is to quickly create the shape for this eye, or we could just duplicate this. So I'll hit Ctrl J and I'll bring it out of this curve group, just bring it down a bit, and I'll mask it and make sure it's confined to this right eye, and I'll select this and move it over to this eye and then slightly rotate it like so. So if you zoom out a bit, you can see we actually have the whites of the eye and then this little curve, and then next we can start creating these shapes underneath that will make it really stand out. So let's work on the lashes. So what I'll do is to use the pen tool and create a nice fill without a stroke, and these are going to represent the lashes. So let's just create a nice little triangular shape like so, and again I'll zoom in and make sure I'm on this eye, and I'll hit the node tool just to make this slightly curvy and make sure it matches up with our shape. And that's one lash. So let's duplicate this. I'll hit Ctrl J, press V to switch over to the move tool, scale it down a bit, rotate, and try to make it just match up like so. And then I'll have one more. So I'll hit Ctrl J, scale it down a little bit, and just place it right here like that. So you can see we have these lashes. Let's see if they're, so it's looking super weird. So what I might need to do is to move all these three together. So let's press V and I'll just move them like so and kind of rotate and drop them down here. So I believe it's a slight deviation from what we have, but I believe it's super fine like that. We can even add any additional one if we want. So with these, let's select these three, press Ctrl G and call them lashes. And I'll press Ctrl J to duplicate the entire group, and I'll flip horizontal here hold shift and I'll drag this to the right and lift it up till I can like place it around here. So let's see what we can create next. Let's add this short, but this little detail here, nothing too serious. So here there'll be no fill. And then the stroke, I'll use black for the stroke. And then use our node tool to convert this, make it here. I believe I have a little one here, but I can't see it anymore. So I'll use the node tool to just drag this back here like that. So let's create the curves for the nose. So I'll use the pen tool. I'll just create a nice little curve. So this time around, I'm not creating the straight line. I'm just using the pen tool to drag out a few shapes. So here and then here, I'll just click and drag like so. And I'll use the node tool to make this slightly angular like so, like that. And here I'll just add, I can use the, there's another tool here, the pencil tool, and I can use that to quickly add a nice little organic shape like that. So that's what we have when we use the pencil tool. And I'll add that little shading underneath the nose like so with the pencil tool. I can just try to paint out a little dark edge like so underneath the nose, and it looks super weird, but that's the pencil tool. That's what it does. And these are going to be shades, so I'll just leave them alone. I don't want to add a lot of these details like that. So there's a little line underneath the eye, so I'll just use the pen tool and just to draw a nice little curvy line. Just click and drag and you have that curvy line like so. And I'll click over here and just drag this like so, and just release and click. So these are going to be the little eye details. So next I'll add this nice little shape above the eye and make sure to add the additional detail here. So next, let's just go over here, hit on the pen tool, and let's create a nice little triangular shape like that. Next, let's use the node tool to drag this to make sure it just matches up and aligns. And I'll just make this slightly curvy around here. And we can drag this and place it down here. And we can use a fill for this one. I'll just use a black fill for that shape. So let's make sure we're selecting that shape over here, and let's set the fill to black. And now what we can do is to add one more lash. So I'll go over here to the lashes. I'll duplicate this first one. I'll use the move tool and then move it slightly up and rotate it like so. I believe this is better. And we can always adjust this in case there's any space showing. We'll just adjust it like that. So let's quickly do the same thing for the right side. So P. And one thing I want you to actually see is that there's some perspective applied here. So it makes the shape look very squishy on the right side. So I'll head over to the node tool and then click here and drag it. Push this one a little bit. We can drag this down. And we'll just push this up just a little bit like that. I think that's super fine. We can always adjust the shape. Excuse me. I need to get a sip of water. So I'll just click on this shape. And let's go to our lashes and add a lash. So I'll duplicate this by using Ctrl J. And let's move this up a bit and slightly rotate it like that. Now I notice some of this is super weird because it's like it's flying around. So let's adjust that. So here we'll just drag this here. I think I might scale this down a bit, drag this here, and then these two, you come over here, and then you can just go over here, rotate, and go over here. And in my original sketch, I kind of pushed it out, but here I'm going to leave it inside because I don't want it to be too looking super weird like that. So we have a lot of these shapes just floating around, so we need to organize them in order to make everything stand out. So I'll select every shape. Now this is part of the nose. I think I'm excluding this one, so this is our nose. So what I'll do is press Ctrl G and I'll call that the nose. Next, let's select this curve and select this curve. These two, I believe this one and this one. Good. So I'll press Ctrl G and I'll call that the nose ridge, like that. And I'll put this closer to the nose. In fact, I could even group them together with the nose. So we have our head shape. Do we have any shapes that are floating around? Yes, we do. We have all these shapes. So I believe this is still part of the nose. So I'll go over to, I'll just hold it, open the nose ridge, and drag this curve into the nose ridge. Let's see, we have another one. Let's see these ones. So I'll call these eye detail. So I'll group them together and I'll call it eye detail, and I'll put that close to the eyes. So let's close this. So we have these curves, we call them, I'll put everything together in a group and I'll call them, I'll do Ctrl G and I'll call them eyes. And if you want to select more than one group, once you select a shape, you can hold Control and you'll actually see you're selecting and, you know, grouping more than one, selecting more than one group, just in case you want to group everything together. So let's work on the brows, and we'll actually definitely go back and tweak most of our shapes. So let's work on the brows. So I'll use the pen tool and just going to follow the profile. I think that's it, like that. And we can use our node tool and try to just keep things slightly organized like that. And what I'll do is I can duplicate this and just manipulate it because I have one already. So I'll do a Ctrl J, head over to the move tool and flip, and we just drag it down here. And I'll begin to rotate, use the node tool and just try to keep everything organized like so, like that. And if I want for this edge, I can even make it like that, but I'll just leave it a bit slightly angular. So what we can now do, let's quickly group that. Let's Ctrl G, and let's call that that's the brow actually. That's the brow, and I'll put that in the eyes group. I can open the eyes group and just drag the brow and put it on top, just so everything about the eyes are in one group. You can see you turn that off, and we can even put these lashes in the eyes group as well. So let's drag them, put it here, and let's drag the second set and put it here. So now if we turn off the eye, everything that has to do with the eye is actually in this group. So I'm actually seeing that I need to, like this whites of the eyes, it's making the eye look different. Let me zoom in and explain what I mean. So this right eye, if we turn this off, you can see it's curvy here. The reason why it's like that is because this curve shape here was not curved. So if I decide to curve it a little bit, it's actually going to look better. than being just flat like that. So we can just drag this and put it here, and you can see what I mean. So it's going to look better than just being a very flat shape. So it's just one of those things that makes the art look super weird. So we have a shadow underneath the neck, and we can quickly work on that shadow. I'll just use the pen tool and create a basic triangular shape like that, and I'll put it over here. So let's select our node tool and we'll just drag. Can I even see it? I can't really see it. I'll put this underneath the head shape. Now it actually has a fill and the head shape doesn't have a fill. That's why it's looking super weird. Let's just pull it out and see what we have here. So I noticed the problem. I didn't complete the shape. So that's why. So I just wanted 1, 2, 3 and back to 4. So that if it's underneath the head shape, I can hold Control still while I'm on the pen tool and just drag this and place it underneath here like that. And we'll have a nice little shadow shape underneath the neck. So let's work on the lips. So we have the upper lip and then the lower lip. So let's just do that. So I'll select the pen tool and zoom in a little bit. This neck is being a bit distracting. I'll just call this head shadow. And the neck is being a bit distracting, so I'll turn it off so I can work on the lips. And for the lips, I think I'll add a little lip line here first and then create the upper and lower lip. And we can even do this. So let's try doing something like that. So this is going to have a use fill. I'll turn it off. And what I'll do is just bump this up a little bit. So this is going to be our lip shape. I think it looks weird. Let's see. I think I added so many points. I don't think I need all those points. So I'll just try again like that. Why am I doing it like that? So let's see. Let's just add. So I can move this point here and just try to make this line up. I think that's not bad. It's very straightforward. And I'll use the pen tool to create the outline of the upper lip using polygonal shapes. And I'll close this here. Now, because I want to really see what I'm doing, I'll get rid of the stroke. And what we can do is to try to match this up. See, so over here, I'll select the node tool and just try to match this shape like that. And remember, we've actually created this little mouth shape. So I think what I can do is to remove this bottom line right here for this curve. So here's what I mean. Good. So what I'll do here, because I have this line already, okay, I'm trying to decide what to do. Okay, this is those parts where it's kind of tricky what to do. So you know what? I'll tell you what to do. I'll hide this line first and just create the lip naturally. So here, I'll just go over and use this contour to create the lip shape like that. So this is going to represent the upper lip, and I'll get rid of the fill. Select, fill, hide. And what we'll do is to start matching or lining it up. So here I'll just try to make this and drag this down a bit. Here we'll just push this to make it more organic, like that, and then push this here. So that's our upper lip. And then next, let's create the lower lip. I think this needs to down a bit, like that. We can even make this slightly thinner so we can see what we're doing. Just a rough outline. And then next, let's create the lower lip. So I'll hit over to the pen tool, hide the upper lip, and then for the lower lip, let's just go down here like so. Like that. And we'll use our pencil tool, our node tool rather, to make it. Now if I convert this to a smooth curve, already these two sides are going to be balanced. Let's see our line, a little bit like that. So if we turn back our upper lip, you can see we have these matching, so we can always add any additional detail we want to add. So I'll select the upper lip, just put it down here like that. And I'll create a little curve right here for this line. So I'll just do this. And I'll hit our node tool so we can have a nice little line that goes out in case we want to represent that. And we'll select these three and group them together. And I'll call this the ellipse. Now notice this upper lip is looking really looking too mechanical, so I'll just drag it down a bit and just try to add some smoothness to it, like that. So what I always like doing is I've been working for, let's check the time just to be make sure we take breaks. Okay, for 40 minutes. Usually I don't spend more than 30 minutes sitting down, so I'm going to use like 10 minutes to take a break. You're watching this, so you might actually see this video sped up, but it's really important to take a break. So I'm going to take a break, and when I'm back, I'll actually continue creating the line art. Alright, so I'm back from my little break, and let's continue working on this character. So let's zoom out. So we have the lips, and I think what we're left with now is the hair. So once we're done with the hair, we can start adding flats, and let's bring back all our curves. So remember, we have a lip curve here, so let's bring this down to the lips group, and let's see how that looks like right now. So let's deselect and click away. I can actually see it actually helped in a way. So that lip line helped, but we may need to adjust each of our lip edges, and we'll do that when we start adding a flat fill color that will enable us see our artwork. So next, let's focus on the hair right now. So let's see, we can again, it's quite distracting to have most of these, so I'll hide the head shape like so, and you can see it's actually easy for us to start working on the hair. So there's a nice little bangle here that ties the hair together, so I won't be really worried about that. And you can actually see when I was sketching, I was thinking about how the hair is going to look. So I'll start with the front of the hair, then I'll have a back of the hair, and then I'll use the bangle. I'll create the bangle on top, right? So yeah, so this is going to be the topmost, second topmost, and this is going to be behind. So let's just quickly do that. I'll use the pen tool to create a nice little shape. I'll start from here, and I'll create sharp triangle shapes. Yeah, I think I can do that. So zigzaggy, nice little zigzaggy shapes where we have the tip like that. I'll add just one more, and then I'll go over here and close this shape. The reason why I'm doing that zigzag is because it's really easier to come in with the node tool and just pull out all these edges to create that curve. Now if we have something like this, we could just turn this to a smooth curve and drag one of the edges, and it looks kind of weird, but I'll just leave it like that. So this one here, I'll drag this one and just pull this down like that, and we can do the same thing here, here, then here and here. I might need to zoom in so you can see it clearly. So I have, let's just say this one. I'm ignoring my artwork now. And then for this one, we'll just drag this here. So this is going to be our hair back. So I'll call this hair underscore back. Excuse me. I think we're on 2.4, but I feel this is not the size we have used to create our shape. Let's look at the ear and select any curve on the ear, and you can see this is on 9 point about. Let's try this one, this curve. This is about 13, but the hair right now it's 2, so that's very low. So we'll just drag this to about, okay, I think the reason why is because we haven't used our custom brush. So if I click on chocolate right now, you can see this is on 15, so I can set this to say about 8. So again, here's the reason why I always like to use the convert right here, because this will really make this edge here smooth instead of having that little sharp thing there. You can actually see it's smooth. So let's convert this one to, I think it's totally fine there. So here we can move this and just drag this outward a bit. So I think it's nice. We're done with the back hair. So let's create the front hair now. So let's just zoom out. Oops, I'll just float this and go over here and just drag this down backwards a bit. So now that we have this one down, let's just see how we can create this nice shape for the front here. So I'll go to my pen tool. So with the pen tool selected, I'll just choose a nice little point to start. I can even start from the back and reverse this. So I'll just go over here and try to create very sharp points like that. I believe I have another little one here. So let's go here. And we can go all the way back here. Now let's just select this and pull this one here. So this is going to be our back, our front here actually. So we'll just drag this somewhere around here. So for this hair shape, we'll just drag this here. And this one, we'll just pull this to make it more interesting. And pull this so we can align. And just drag this. It's actually fun doing the hair. It looks scary, but it's not really that scary. Okay, like that. And we'll have the back of the hair like so. Like that. So this is our hair front, and our ear is going to be in front of our hair front. So I'll just call this hair underscore front, and let's create this bangle shape. So I'll get rid of the hair front and back, and I'll use the pen tool to just think about this hair clip like that. So over here, nice little shapes, and then we can get over here. And next I'll use the tool to just pull and drag. So let's zoom in a little bit, and let's make this slightly organic. Let's push it at the top like that so it looks like some nice little hair bangles. And what we can do inside of this shape is to create a few lines to represent that. So again, we'll just use the pen tool. Let's create a nice little line and hold Control and just drag this. Now these are all going to be part of this shape, and I'll add just a few here. 1, 2. Let's drag that. I will add a little one here. Whoops. So you need to Control click and then click to add a little line. And what I'll do is just try to make them have a smaller width. Maybe smaller, like that. And oops. Hold Control, click to select. Hold Control, click to select, and then drag this like that. And these are all going to be part of this hair clip. I think it's called bangles or clips. I'll just call it hair holder. So with the hair holder, let's group all these little hair holder curves to the hair holder. I think that's all we have. So let's go to the hair holder and create this. So now if I turn this off, our entire hair holder is gone. We have our hair front and we have our hair back. So our hair back is here, our front, and then our hair holder is on top of the head. And let's we can group everything together like so and just call it the hair master group, so that if we turn off the hair group, the bangles front and back hair are all gone. So we can just bring everything back. We bring our neck and our face shape, and you can actually see we have everything back the way it is. I kind of like these lines, not the textured one, because remember we used our chocolate brush here. So I'll just click on this, the head shape, click on the head shape, and I'll try style 6 on the head shape like that. So in our next lesson, we're going to start filling these shapes. And oh yeah, we forgot to add our little hair shine right here. And our hair shine is going to be part of the hair front. So let's go to our hair group, and in our hair group we have our hair front. So this is our hair front group. So if you click on that hair front, this is our hair front. So let's just quickly add a nice curve, just one curve, or yeah, just one curve. So let's just do that. So I'll add a nice triangle shape like that just flies and cuts across everything, and I'll select that. And what I'll do is to just use Control and drag this here. Use Control to push this down here like that as well. So this is going to be my hair sheen. So that's going to be the shine for the hair. And because we want to clip this to the hair holder, I'll just drag it to the right and drop it in like that. And we can't actually see it. Okay, so why can't we see this? I think it was clipped to the hair holder. Let's try the front hair. I want it to be clipped to this one, hair front. So let's go over to hair holder, the curve, sorry, this curve, and let's clip it to hair front. So now that little sheen is clipped to hair front. If we wanted to add more detail, all we need to do is to click on that detail and then go over here. We can click on any of these points to add nodes. And if I select this node, I can turn it into a sharp node, and I'll just pull it like that. Add a node here, convert it to have a sharp point. I'll just pull it like that, and we can use it to create the shape that follows the sheen. I think that's super nice, but I just want to leave it like this. And it might look really confusing and tricky, but once we start adding the flat colors, you'll actually see what we mean and how we can improve this design. So yeah. All right, let's go ahead. So what I'll do now is to start adding the flats, and the most obvious one is going to be our head shape. So I'll go over to the head shape, and I want to choose a color for the character's skin. So I'll go over here to color, and I'll just start moving around and going over here. Yeah, I think I like this. Make it slightly warm like that. So I'm using 32, 46, 44 for HSL, but if you want to use, say for instance, these sliders, so it's the same thing, but I think we can use RGB hex. So you can actually see the hex value A2723C. So that's A2723C. That's what I'm using for this character. Now we have an issue. We cannot see our characters. Let me just brighten my screen a little bit. So we can't see our characters' eyes, nose, and all the other features, and the head shape, we can't really see all that. So what we can do is to see, let's just put this at the back of everything. So if we put this at the back of everything at the bottom before our sketch and our background, you can actually see what we have here. So we have this full character face, and we can see the extent of that face shape. So for the character's neck, I'll use the same color but darken it a little bit because it's facing away from the light. So the neck is going to be underneath the head shape like we established initially, and I'll use the eyedropper tool and then select this shape, and what you can see here is that we have this shape as well. So what I can do right now is to use here, let's see the boxes, and then I'll just slightly dial this down a bit. See that? Down a bit, and I'll shift this hue towards red like that, just to show that the neck is in a bit of a shadow. It's slightly a bit too far away, so I'll just put it there. And you can actually see it's obvious there's a change there. And then for this curve, so we have a curve here. So what I should have done is actually created a full shape, because that's what I'll use for the character's outfit. See, she's wearing a nice little outfit. So quickly, I'll just create a nice shape here. I'll just go to node, and I believe I can complete this if I have the pen tool. And I'll just click here. I'll select this point and then drag this and this like that. So we have this shape, so I'll fill it with a nice little purple color like so, and I just make it, yeah, like that. So that's the color the character is going to be using. For the neck, I'll just drag that down right here, and then for this curve, I'll drag it down as well, so it just appears like that. So if you so here's another trick. If you have a shape that's not complete, and I'll just do a practical right now. So say for instance I'm on the pen tool and I have this shape and I clicked on it, and now I want to complete it. So I'll select the shape again, click on this point, switch to the pen tool, and you can actually draw out and complete that shape. So because you have a shape that's not complete doesn't mean you can't complete that shape. And I'll save my project as a second version. So I'll save as, I'll call that chocolate, and I'll call that 0202 underscore flats. And please don't be like me. We have over 45 minutes of projects gone already, and we haven't even saved it. Now that's super strange. So save your work, please, please save your work. You don't work for hours and then realize there's a problem. So we have our head shape. Let's look at the hair now, because those are the large shapes we want to quickly take a look at. So for the hair, let's see, a hair holder. Let's try something. Let's try a color for the hair holder. I'll just try something cyanic like that. I think that's not bad. So I'm just winging it actually. So for the hair, I'll just make the hair black like that, and not fully black. Let's try using the wheel. I'll try something. So not 100% brown. So, but I'm using this color. If I go to the boxes, the slider, sorry, I'm using 120605. That's the hex value for this. And I'll go to the hair back and use the eyedropper tool and sample that same color for the hair back. And now you can actually see that the hair is a little bit, we have a little bit of space here. So what we can do to fix that, just go to our hair front and switch to our node tool and just adjust. We can either push this back here like that, and you can see we have our hair covering that forehead section. So next, let's look at the eyes, because we need to have our whites over here, and it's only going to be 100% pure white. So let's go to the eyes group, and here where we have our little curve, not the ellipse but the curve, let's fill it with a let's hit fill first of all, and let's select white. And what we can do is to begin to go off that white. So I'll just drag this slightly a bit, slightly over here, and I can still do better than that. Let's go to boxes and I'll just look for something. All right, good. So I think this is a good value I can use for the eyes. And if we look at our sliders, the hex value is BBA884. BBA884. So that's what I'm using for the eye. So if I go to the other eye and use the eyedropper tool and sample this, just like magic, voila, we have this color selected here. So what I'll do next is to, again, we need to increase the size of this guy, because I notice it's not really matching up with the hair. That's our hair clip, like that. So we can do things like we can increase it like so, and rotate a little bit, and then push it back. Let's make it slightly larger, like that. So what we can do now is to bring the ear to the front. So we have our ears, so let's go over here, have our eyes, so this is our ear. I believe it's in front already, so let's add a fill to the ear. So we have a few curves, let's add a fill, and you can actually see that fill right here at the bottom. We can see these lines, but our fill is actually covering this, and we can just adjust the ear so that it slightly touches this edge. And something weird happening there, so let's zoom in and see that. So first, our style, we're using this. So let's go back to our styles and let's set it to chocolate, I guess. If we set it to chocolate, we're going to lose our okay, sorry, not chocolate, I think it's style 6. Let's try 6, and here let's try 6. And for the fill, let's use our color, and we might need to adjust these lines. So I'll just drag this down a bit. And then this one's looking super weird because of the size. So I'll just drag it so it looks like more like our ear. And what we can do is just begin to adjust this like that. So let's zoom out a bit. So what do we do now? Let's fill up this ring. I think we can use a nice little let's fill this one. Nice little gold color. And this one, let's make it slightly bright. And because this is supposed to be slightly up above like that, like so. So now this is a bad design actually, because we can't see through the background for the earring. So there are a lot of other shapes we can create. For instance, if we click and hold this shape here, we can see a donut. So if I click on the donut tool, you can see the donut tool has a hole already. And what we can do is to adjust things like the hole radius. So I'll just drag this over here. We have a nice little donut tool with a nice hole radius. Let's just drag this over here like that, and then place it. Now you can see we can see through that hole. So let's drag the donut just where we have the ear. Let's get rid of the earring and then try to match this up like that. And I'll borrow some of the colors that I used here. So if I go to the eyedropper tool, I'll select this donut and then go to the eyedropper tool and select this. And we could just hide the earring. And what we can do now is we can go back to that tool and we can do things like increase our stroke if we wanted. All right, so I think that's a better earring than using this one, although I like the fill. So you see, so it depends on what you want. So I'll just leave it there, but I just wanted to show you that you could actually use this tool to create a shape with a hole in it. It's actually much easier, or you can just leave it with a fill, an object fill like that. So let's look at the lips. Let's fill the lips with a nice little color. And then for the lips, I think I'll use, let's try the outfit color, or let's just try red. I think it looks better. So here, I'll just drag this down like so. Not too reddish. I think, yeah, that's totally fine. And then I'll go to the lower lip, use the eyedropper tool and select the upper lip. Now we have to be careful with the lip because it's looking weird. So let's just zoom in and see what we can do to fix that. So it's that little line we have. First, let's see what happens when we turn it off. And it's looking too mechanical. Right, the lips are looking too mechanical. So let's go over here. Let's zoom in. And let's just try to make it a bit more organic. And over here on the upper lip, just want to drag it down a bit. And here, I think it's too, the thickness there is making it look, okay, we can just leave it like that. but I just believe we have too many points for the lip. Let's try putting it down. Okay, so I still don't like this this edge here, because naturally the lip doesn't have an additional point here. So I think that's where the problem is. So what I'll do is to select this point and delete it. So one, well, let's delete it from the upper lip, this point here, and then we'll just drag this over here. So let's click away. Yeah, I think it's a bit better now. So let's do the same thing for the lower lip. In fact, we don't need this point. We need this one. And that's it. So this little line, because I know we created a little line here, we could just make it a little thinner. And maybe we might just adjust it like that. Transform and just drag this over here. All right, so yeah, that's super fine. So we have our shine for the eyes. So you see we didn't even need this curve here. Let's see our little shine for the eyes. And you know what, I actually turned this back on because I noticed you might actually use it to create a little nice little effect. Maybe the earrings have, you know, some other kind of attachment to it, and then we can make this another color just to make it quite unique and interesting. So that's why we actually have that earring, and I'll put this back to the earring group, or not do that at all. So let's see, I was trying to fix something. I noticed something wrong somewhere. Something is actually off somewhere. So, but we're just trying to look at it and see what we need to improve. I remember the hair. We have a little object we added to the hair group. And why am I grouping the lip and the hair together? So I need to take the hair out of the lip group. I think I was actually working and I accidentally did that. So I'll just go to the hair, and what I tried to remember is that little hair curve, this one. So it doesn't have a fill. I think that's why we can't really see it. So I want to add a color that looks more like that, but then it should look like this. So I'll select that, go to the eyedropper tool, select the hair to make it very black, and what I'll do is to try to bring back the let's see, our tint. Let's try to bring this back out. And I think it would be nice if this is really curvy like that, and thin, kind of like this. And what we can do is to break this shape. So how do we cut out some edges away from this shape? I'll show you. It's a very simple and neat trick. So I'll have this rectangle tool. It's just a shape, but what I'll do is to set the opacity to erase. So, but if I do that, it's going to basically erase the entire thing. So I'll clip the erase to this curve. So if you click away now, you can actually see we have a nice little hole here, and it's still there. If I tilt it at an angle, it's going to, whoops, if I tilt it at an angle, it's going to erase that at an angle, and I can have a duplicate of that, and I'll use the move tool and just drag this over here like that. And what we can do is to bring back our tint just to make it slightly brighter. And because we want this to be unique, we can get rid of the stroke for the hair. So this is what I mean. We might not need this stroke for the hair. And you can see how it makes the hair look super awesome. So we can move this guy up a bit like that, and then just drag this like so, right, like that. So if we have a we got rid of the fill and the stroke, and I believe the eyes might look better. Let's try the shape for the eyes. So let's go over to our eyes, this eye color right here, and I'm just going to try and sample this. Okay, it's too dark. It's too dark, but let's look at our eye shape, and let's just try to use that tint to about 67. I think it's better here, so I'll select this one, use the eyedropper tool and select this color just to brighten the eye a little bit. Now for the nose, if we look at our sketch, I'll group everything together. So I'll just select this, hold down shift, down to the shape, and I'll press Ctrl G, and I'll turn it off. You can actually see we have a little bit of shading on the nose. So to do that, I'll just add a little bit of shadow underneath the nose like so. So I'll go over to the nose, and let's just create a simple shape. We can use the marquee tool, or we can use the pen tool, any tool you want, and it's going to be, let's just zoom in a bit. So my navigator is, oh, it's over here. So let's just create a nice little shape like that, and the color is going to be this color. There is no fill, no stroke, just the fill. And what we can do is to just adjust this like so, and it's going to be under the nose like that. So now what I can do is just go over here and use this tool, the node tool, and then we can just adjust this like that. And what we can do, we can make this slightly darker. So go over here, and yeah, I think I like that color. So I'll just slide this and drop it over here like that. We can even be extremely precise. Go over there and see some issues we have with that shape. I'll just pull this one here. I don't want it overlapping and spilling everywhere it's not supposed to spill. I think it's fine over here like this. It may be too small, but hey, that's just a preference. Yeah. So now that we're done adding these, what we can now finally do is to add the lighting and shading to this this color. So let's see. I think I'll take a break, and we'll do that in our next set of lessons. Alrighty, and welcome back. So what I want to do now is to add a little bit of shade to our character to make it quite interesting. So I'll add some underneath the hair, add some shading at the edge of the chin, and then add some shading to this fabric, to the ears, and then add a little highlights, and let's call that done. So first, for the head shape, so let's look for our head shape. What I'll do is to use the pen tool to draw some basic triangular shapes like that. And what I'll do is to mask this to the head so it doesn't go out like that. And I'll use the node tool to just make this super smooth So like that, I just want to make it curvy, and then I'll just go over here and then drag and create a nice little curve like that. Okay, that's it's going out now. Okay, it doesn't want to listen when I want it to listen. Like that. Yeah, I think this is that's too, it's looking too sharp, so I'll just drag this over here. Let's pull this down a bit. So if it's looking too sharp, I'll show you a nice little trick. So here on the curve, let's add an adjustment layer, and I'll add a Gaussian blur. And look what happens when I begin to increase this blur, right? So it's giving us this kind of like old school cartoon shading. So I'll just set that. And what I want to do is to make the shadows more livelier. And then what we'll do is to dial down the opacity. So there's some shadows there, and we can actually see it. And what we can do is just make this slightly like that. You can actually see how that looks. So I'll duplicate this, and I'll quickly move this over to the top of the head, like so, where I have the hair shape. So I'll just have a little bit of shadows under the hair. So that's one. I'll duplicate another one. And what I'll do is to just rotate this one. I'll just place it over here like that. It doesn't necessarily have to follow that shape. It would be nice if it did. So for this one, I'll just rotate it like so, and just slightly put it over here. I might need to zoom out so I can see that gizmo handle like that. Yeah, like that, because that one looks like the hair, like so. And we'll add a little shadow underneath this side, on this side of the character, just to make it quite unique. So I'll just use the pen tool, create a nice little triangle, and where is it? It's over here. I want it here underneath the head, and I'll just make this slightly bigger, and I'll just use the pen tool to drag this and move it up a bit like that. So now there's a little problem with that section because of the ear, so I'm not really going to push it like that. So I'll just pull this here, and let's see if that works. Yeah, I think that works. So I'll just slightly push this down. I think that works. So what I'll do is to just blur out this a bit. I'll add our little Gaussian blur trick. Just blur this out a little bit. And you can see it's actually there. And what I might do is to increase the strength of this one. So I'll just bump up the strength a bit so you can see that. I don't want it to looking too doll-like kind of. So let's go to the neck. And this color for the neck, I think we can make it more lively like that. And even the character's face, we can make it slightly like that. So now I need to go and change the ear or else the ear is going to give us a problem. So this one, I use the eyedropper tool and select the face I used for this. So the ear is super nice. And for this curve, this one, we can use a fill on this one. Let's see this fill. and we can make this slightly darker to represent the insides of the ear. And I'll make this, put this on top. So I believe we can see it now. Okay, it's not really on top. Oops. Alright, so something like that. And we can edit this guy. We can close the shape. Let me just see that here. We can close the shape so that we can actually work on this guy. So I'll go here, click this, and then use the pen tool to close this shape. And we can drag this backwards a little bit like that. And there are a lot of things we can do here, but I'll just leave it like this. Like that. And if we want it to have a nice little curvy shape, we can create an oval just right here. So with this oval shape, I think we're on the ear, so let's go back to the ear group. This oval shape will be on top, and then we can use the same color for the character just to hide that. You know, we don't want it to be really mechanical like that. So this will be our ear shape, and we have this character shape down like that. So there are a lot of things we can actually do to make this totally stand out. For example, we can go to the neck and use the gradient tool. I'll just drag a nice little gradient like that. And so what's happening is we have our lighting from the left, and we can go in here. So we have our lights. We can brighten this up a little bit like that. So you can actually see what's happening to our gradient. And then here we can decide to darken and use a nice warmer color like that. So let's try that on the face as well. So this is like our polish stage. So let's go to our character's face. Where is it? It's hiding. Okay, here's our head shape, and I'll just drag a nice little gradient like that. It's there, it's effective, and we can always, instead of pushing it down here, we just push it down here like that. And for this part, we can actually add a nice color variation like that. And for the ending part, we can kind of like make that more skin tony like that. It's totally fine. So now you can see we have an issue with that little patch over here for the ears. So we can just hide that. So for this, we can use the eyedropper tool to sample a nice little color, just so it blends more a bit. Alright, so I'm going to stop here, and basically we went from, let's go ahead and close this, we went from this to this. We went from this to this. I think we tried. So if you've actually followed along, congratulations. I'll do one final thing before we run away. I would like to add a little bit of gradient to this hair. Please forgive me, I've been adding a lot. So for this hair, I'll just drag this a little bit like that. You see, it's very subtle, but we have a little bit of gradient here. And gradients really they help out a lot. I wanted to add a little gradient for the eyes, but I know I'm going to get shot by you guys. But we could quickly do that and call it a day. So I'll just drag it a little bit like that. Like so. I'll do that for the other eye as well. I think this is a bit much, so I'll just drag it down. And I'll zoom in so I can show you what I'm doing so it doesn't look weird. So if I drag it up, it's going to fill up the eye, but if I drag it down like that, so I'll just leave it at this point here. All right. So let's go ahead, close this group, look for a nice little, let's close our sketch. And for our background, we can add a nice backdrop to represent our character like that. And for the backdrop, we can add a nice little gradient to make this unique. And once we're done, we can group the entire thing, Control G, and call that character. And from here, we can add any kind of adjustment layer we want to add. For instance, we can turn off the black, we can bump it up a bit, add some whites, we can dial down the white level like so, just to make this unique. And what we can do is to add another general effect like vibrance, and dial up the saturation for the colors just to make the character pop. Alright, so yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next quick tip.